G'day, Dennis. It's good to have you on the podcast today. Built, Trusted, Chosen. If you'd like to just quickly introduce yourself, we'll unpack it further as we progress. But who are you? Where you're from? What are you doing?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on the show, Wes. My name's Dennis Dixon. I'm out here in Nova Scotia, Canada, and I grew up in the heart of Ontario in a deep woods country, and I had a PC on my fingertips by the time I was 8 years old, taught myself AutoCAD. And by the time I was 15, I was teaching at my local university and started traveling all around North America and parts of the globe, working on behalf of Autodesk and a number of other different companies doing really fun stuff. And here we are designing software for the architecture, engineering, construction facilities all over the world. So.
Yeah, phenomenal. And I'm sure AI is transforming a lot of what you do and enabled a lot of what you're doing now. I've seen a bit of the work you're up to. Everyone's talking AI, but not many people are really getting deep into how to actually apply it to business. So how do you see all that rolling out, particularly for the trades construction industries?
Man, you know what? It's very interesting. The trades were actually the first ones that we found here in Canada that were using AI. It's baffling. Yeah, the consultant space was afraid of it and couldn't build enough AI policy. But I walked around on site on multi-res buildings, and I would see site supers chatting to ChatGPT. This was a year and a half, 2 years ago, asking for things that they just didn't want to type on their phone. So.
Yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it? Quite progressive, particularly in your region. That's really exciting. And so, how do you see it shifting, like the whole industry in the future? I mean, it's hard to predict out. There's lots of people with some negative views of what might change in the workforce, and other people are really quite positive. Where do you sit with all that?
So it's kind of maniacal, actually. There's so much uncertainty, and at the same time, a certain level of certainty. Like for instance, there's articles that came out of Design that said the architect world is done. Like, they just announced this like a couple weeks ago and said that architects are no longer going to be considered a degree, and that was an article that shocked me to my core 2 weeks ago. Especially considering most of the people we work with are architects. So, and baffling anyway. But at that same pace, we're seeing this adoption starting to really take stride, and everyone's using it hand in hand. My wife only just started using it about a month ago, but now she's starting to see the benefits of assisting in their workflows, and that's where I see it. I see the adoption happening in the assist side of things, not so much the do. So
yeah, that's right. So I suppose you've got the entry level where you're using ChatGPT to help you write emails or some form of text and content, but you're getting a little bit more involved than that, aren't you? Maybe tell us a little bit about what Cody does. It's pretty exciting from what I can see.
Yeah, Cody's pretty wild. This was actually a brainchild out of many years of just learning. To the point of the show, like we have to really adapt and learn to our industry and listen. And we spent 4.5 years just listening and trying to find out why 91.5% of projects are going over budget and over schedule, and just people ripping their hairs out. And we did a lot of deep diving. We talked to window cleaning companies, curtain wall companies, suppliers, roofing companies, like all over the place, from construction through to design. And we found out that the one thread that has joined them all is non-compliance. So we had to take the helicopter way out and see how bad this was actually getting. And we did. We found out there's about 440 touch points on any given project of people that deal with building automation systems, or, like I said, window cleaning or warranties. And once we discovered that, it got wild, man. Like we uncovered a hard truth. So
yeah. Well, a big problem obviously needs a big solution, and that's a massive opportunity when you find these types of things in business. And so the compliance, I suppose, things change rapidly as well. So it's hard for any one person to keep on top of it. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, it's definitely difficult. So, and that's why Cody was created. It's because one person can't know all the answers for their project. As much as there are many people that walk around a site and interpret themselves as knowing it all, you can't. There's so much capacity for a human to dig into the hard facts. So we created Cody which is a design and construction brain, to be able to link itself to all the requirements through design, build, and operate cycles, to connect you to the information you need to do your project, and just to allow you to ask the right questions and find non-compliances in your project when you don't know the questions to ask. So that's what it was created for.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I suppose the other thing, when there's so many pieces of the puzzle that need to come together and so many people, there's always room for human error when things are exchanging hands down the line. And so one person's minor error might throw someone else out tremendously. Is that part of what the solution solves?
Yeah, 100%. Like, interpretation is ripe with RFIs. So anyone can interpret something differently. I did a presentation over in AIA, which was really fun. Like, many of the lead game changers in the world were in attendance. And I put up a picture of a foundation or a footing detail. And so how many of you recognize this detail? And then I put up another one from another company and another one from another company, all the exact same detail. But every single one of them were all done differently and for the same application. And just interpreting how it should be built, it was wild. And they all looked at it and went, okay, where did the origin of this come from? And how did we get to this point?
Yeah. Yeah, just having that one version of truth, I suppose, is important. But even when you get that pretty close, there's still people will interpret things in a different way. That's a massive challenge. And so, how does it kind of? I can imagine there's a lot that goes on in the technology behind the scenes, but front end it's simple, so it does the heavy lifting for people. Is that the way the thinking behind it?
Yeah, so it was interesting. We took a step back, and even stepping back before we launched into Cody, we realized that not just our industry, but many industries skipped over a very important technical piece of working with computers, and that was automation. Automation just kind of got jumped over. People didn't realize that you can, program an entire project setup for your whole company and just have that automate when you click a button. We've realized that whole thing was missed. And now we just jump directly into AI, where automations are part of it. And now we're lacking the education of how to piece it together. We jumped almost too fast that we just didn't know what to do with.
Right. New challenges, each step of the journey, isn't it? So you touched on something really interesting as well. We'll go back to that. The architects, someone suggesting that their industry will become redundant, and that we're hearing that a lot in different industries. And my view, and I'm keen to hear your view, is that the human aspect is still really important. So there's an art. It's not just a science, and so that art of understanding the human and what they need, and understanding what nuance might suit their purpose. It's kind of like, in my view, it's kind of like art in terms of a painter. So we want to know it's genuine, it's authentic, it's a genuine piece. It's not just a generic. And so there's a potential, if we lean too heavily on the design piece with AI, it'll all come out the same, because it'll come out with what it believes to be the best. But that's not necessarily so. That's not how art works, and any creative endeavor doesn't work that way. What's your take on all of that?
So it's funny because we speak on this all the time. So Oculi is the name of our main company. Cody's the product we offer, but the Oculi started with a vision of seeing the light. That's where Ocu and Li came from. We take a strong stance on any software we create, and we suggest that every company look at it this way too. that computers are a tool. They're meant to be there to assist, to help you do the job that you went to school with and that the passion that you pursued. Architecture is one of those heavy passions. Like I grew up framing. I love building things. Building
Yeah.
things was something that I grew up. I grew up hammer in hand and built most of the home that I'm sitting in right now. And
Mm.
not only did I build it, I designed it and did all of the construction planning and estimating for it. Like there's so much passion involved in all that.
Yeah.
And AI did not touch any of it. So the issue that we're going to have to sort out as a community is where its place is in that upbringing. So if you can define AI as an assistant and have it help you along that way, it can help you get back to what you love doing, not
Mm.
to take away the jobs that are important to you. So it's super
Yeah.
crucial.
Yeah, I think that's right in so many industries. Certainly in mine, I mean, we've applied it to fix the standard operating procedures just internally. We do websites, we do SEO. We're a digital agency for
Mhm.
trades and construction, and so the same outcome is achieved. We're building the thing we're building, but the processes have improved so much. You know, things are speeding up, and there's new opportunities all the time. But people need the guidance. One day, eventually, the same with the architects. People are saying they won't need a web designer anymore because they'll just jump on vibe coding. That vibe coding is you just talk to your device and it'll punch out a website.
Mhm.
That's possibly true to a large degree, but it's that people are still going to need guidance because there's just so many options. And so, how do you choose in a world filled with information and options? You need expert advice and guidance to make those decisions. And I think that's a really core key thing with
Mhm.
architects as well. I mean, there's so many options and variables of how you make the most of a certain opportunity. You know, you've got a certain allotment, you've got limitations, you've got all sorts of things that need to be factored in. But
Oh yeah.
the human who can guide the client through that journey, that's where the real value is, I think. Use the tools to free up your time as much you can. Use systems, processes, and so you get stuff right and you get it done faster. But use that extra time to make human connections. I think that's the
So
key.
it's
Yeah.
funny. So I'll give a couple of interesting takes on this. So I went and I do presentations all over the place on AI, and there's some really negative perspectives on it and from different companies. But I always start a presentation off with an AI version of myself with a really goofy voice, and they say like it's a gimmick, But I was like, but what about somebody who's mute and you take an avatar of your own face and you type in all the script you want to do and use a voiceover that can do presentations online with your capabilities there. Like prime example of one. Or an architect who is really stuck. I showed them an example with them there with Gemini and said at the time, can you take this multi-res block of buildings and can you design it in the mindset of our architectural firm? And it did. It took it and took all of the images it found on the online that was really native to that architectural designer, and it made what you would expect from that company. And they all kind of sat back and said, this isn't good. And I said, hold on. I said, have you ever been staring at a landscaping project and sat there for hours just trying to get to a point of design that you're happy with? And I said, oh yeah, all the time. We hit design blocks constantly. I was like, so what if
Mm.
you just circled in that area and said, can you help me get to this just a little bit quicker? And it does.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like a brainstorming tool. It certainly fixes writer's block if you're using it in a really simple term, and that's probably where most of us start in ChatGPT and figuring
Yeah.
out how it writes content because it's language.
Yeah, but it can't
But
replace
yeah,
like prediction. Like your just what makes you that person to really get that design out is something that AI currently cannot do. It is just something that assists from what it knows, but that inspiration and what you provide is always going to need to be there to make it better. So
Yeah. I think that's the trust thing. So it feels to me there's such an erosion of trust in what we see with our own eyes, because we know not everything is real. And so we don't trust messaging as well. So I see a future more around personal brands, because the personal brand and reputation of the authority who plays in a certain space is going to be the key factor. How do you kind of see trust in the industry right now?
very low. It's the trust is getting worse. In fact, there's companies now, or a company in the States that has created an application, more so a service, where they can go onto somebody's website and put up AI blockers to prevent people from using the information on their website. So things like zoning, or gathering information, where
Right.
whole tools have been
Yes.
designed specifically to get that information, have now just been shut down. Like entire applications just closed. So the trust
Yeah.
factor is becoming an issue. They don't want their IP to be public, and especially in our industry, when it's so competitive and you have 30 people bidding on a project, or 30 companies. So
Yeah. Yeah, people stealing your. It's kind of funny because I'm coming at it from the other side, in terms of we're trying to get people to show up in large language models from a marketing standpoint. So when people
mhm.
are looking for a certain service or product, or construction related service, we want them to show up in all the right places and be recognized as the authority. But others are trying to block their IP. It's kind of a funny space right now. So there's those that really want to protect and guard everything that they're producing. There's others who want it to show up everywhere, because it's all marketing, and they just
Mhm.
want to just keep getting better than the next person. It's just different philosophies, I suppose.
100%. Yeah, even for our application, and part of our research, our original goal was to create a live compliance engine that just every time you popped a new document inside of Cody, it would just pull up a whole new set of errors or omissions that didn't work. And it would just constantly be pumping out non-compliances in your project. And you can just choose, how you want to list them. But when we brought that up to the architectural teams or some of the consultant teams, they're like, we don't want the owners to see this. Like, we would never get our project done.
Yeah, yeah, right. So that visibility of what's happening behind the scenes. I suppose sometimes it's better not to know as the end client, because I mean, in any construction project,
Yeah.
it seems like chaos at times, and it is. Things the timing gets thrown out. Things are chaotic, but someone's there managing it, and that's, you kind of have peace of mind not having to getting too far into the weeds, so to speak, with all of that.
Yeah, it's definitely wild. And, being able to pick and choose your own adventure as you go through this is part of the journey. So a lot of fun. It's hilarious. I still remember about 12 years ago going to a site trailer and showing the construction teams how to use Navisworks for the first time, and show them how to spin a 3D model around on their construction site. And I
Yeah.
still remember going back to our office and getting myself chewed apart, because what did you do, Dennis? What did you show them? They were like, I just showed them how to use this app. They're like, well, they found like 50 errors and sent back RFIs for a whole bunch of things. And so it works.
Yeah. That's funny. It's pretty powerful what's happening right now, but there's a lot of, certainly here in Australia, there's a lot of concern in the construction field. We had a lot of residential home builders go out of business because building materials blew out and they had fixed
Mm,
cost contracts, and so all of a sudden they're making a loss on a bunch of projects, and some tried to get through and win enough projects to get out of that hole, but then in the meantime sink. And you can imagine, if you've got a half built home, your dream home, and all of a
mhm.
sudden the builder's not there anymore. that creates a lot of headaches. And then, so trust is an issue. So not only is it more expensive to build a home right now here in Australia, it's also the fact that you're not quite sure if it's even going to get finished when you do part with a whole bunch of money. Is similar kind of things happening in your part of the world, or is that?
Well, I don't know if you've heard about Canada. It is brutal here. Like it's
Yeah,
if you just step south 1 foot into the US, the cost difference of a home to here is outrageous. Like
really?
it's unreal. A 2,600 square foot home in I guess in Guelph, which is 2 hours or an hour and a half outside of Toronto. The It's about $1.6 million to that's a starter home for somebody. A townhouse, almost $1 million, just like not even inside Toronto. And
Yeah,
yeah, you're spending about $300 a square foot to build your own home at minimum, which is
yeah,
wild.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I wonder what's your take on what's causing that? It's probably a number of factors, but there's probably a couple of key ones that you think are causing that. Or you don't want to get too political. Is there a political thing going on?
Yeah, I'm a little bit in the weeds. Like obviously the tariffs have their have their kick in terms of, lumber prices, steel prices, all that stuff. The
Yeah,
good thing is we can harvest a lot of lumber here in Canada, so we can take advantage
yeah,
of that. But it's just access to information. Obviously, COVID did a number on us, but our our country leadership kind of did us not well. So
yeah,
the home prices should not have jumped up by $1 million in the course of 3 years. Like that's
yeah.
not.
It's nuts, isn't it? That's just bizarre. Hopefully, there's a way to turn that around, or stem the bleeding a little bit to some degree. I
Yeah, they're
suppose
trying.
that, yeah, there might be. It feels as though there'll be new building technology on the horizon with robotics and so on. We see some early stage things happening. Hopefully, that creates a way in which we can build. If we're talking about homes, build them faster and cheaper. Maybe that's part of the solution. Maybe one day.
Mhm.
It feels like it's still a way off, but with the tech evolving so fast, who knows?
Yeah, or even just processes. Like you look at companies like Madame or Toll Brothers, which are massive home builders. Like Toll Brothers does over, 11 to 13,000 homes a year, and they have a system that just crushes it because they've built it on knowledge and efficiency from many years, but are able to adapt very quickly.
Yeah,
Whereas massive modular companies have been failing 8 out of 10 times and have gone bankrupt because they just haven't figured out how to make it work. And I mean, I'm hoping that the technology will land on its feet and actually prove that worth, but it's tough. They just add too
yeah,
much restrictions on it. So
yeah, yeah. That's difficult. I suppose it's like anything. We've got to focus on the controllables, control the controllables. Some things are just outside of our world, but the things we can improve are the systems and processes, and being on top of how we can refine and improve our own systems internally. Obviously, software like what you're providing is awesome for those that it's suited to. But even, yeah, just always tinkering and refining what you can internally is part of the controllable aspect of what we can do in this day and age. It feels like everything's changing so fast, and that's scary and overwhelming. But it's a matter of staying on top of it and figuring out what the next move might be.
But with that said, I'm seeing a big social shift in our industry. For many, many years I've been in it, nobody wanted to talk to anybody. They're like, don't share secrets, don't communicate, don't do this. Now there's open data companies, there's associations that are making it. So one of the ones that I'm here with is the Design and Construction Institute in Nova Scotia. They take a strong stance on bringing everyone together and actually opening the doors to talk. So much more so that they actually host free events for mixers and for having some drinks at a pub and talking about the problems so we can solve them together. So
Yeah,
it's a different
that's
world right now.
yeah. That collaborative approach for those that are open to those opportunities is really powerful. You'll always get people who are reluctant, but there's those that are able to open themselves up to those things. It's just a world of information. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you should do next half the time. I mean, certainly in my business, with when things started to change with AI, I just realized I had to double down on what I could do to change things, but also I started leaning upon my team a whole lot more because they're technical people as well. So
Mhm.
all before then, before this sort of era of AI, it was all me. The operating procedures were all mine, my thoughts. I wanted people to do it how I would do it as the business leader. But I realized, hey, there's a bunch of brilliant minds around me, and I'm not drawing upon what they might know as well. So I think it's a time for collaboration and figuring out who knows and who knows the thing that I need to know, and getting that info out of them.
Yeah, and it's crazy how like maybe 30 seconds of listening to somebody can completely unearth what you're doing. I remember we were talking to a venture capitalist like, at the very beginning of this journey,
Yeah,
and we originally were looking to create a building code app, something that would just help you kind of figure out building codes.
yeah,
And they were like, I'm not interested. And I was like, why? It was like, what? Because you have to manage it. It was like, try and get the government to give you the product that you need on a timely basis from all of the authorities having jurisdiction, and then having to hire a service team to upkeep it. It's like, just give them a platform where they can store it and build the brain instead. And we we looked at that advice. That's 30 seconds. Best advice we ever had.
yeah, yeah. That's it. That's gold when you can. It sounds as though you've had a few little pivots along the journey. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
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 I would say when I was first starting out, I was in the middle of college when I started my first company, and I was designing homes, and wasn't getting enough work at the time because I think housing at that time was starting to crash, and I ended up so broke that I took on a job pushing an aerator from door to door. It was like 14-hour days. You wake up at 6 a.m. or go to work at 6 a.m., get back 8 p.m. And you had to rent your own machine for $10 and then had to return it at the end of the day. And some days you'd come home with nothing. So
yeah.
I learned so much from, the drive it takes to get there. I remember one day it got so bad that I think I pretended to hurt my ankle just so somebody would come out to the front door so I could actually get the job. Like, and then at that point I said, you know what? I don't want to go home and shower this guilt off of me every day. So
Yes.
I took on myself to learn software and teach myself coding. And really that was as low as it got, and then started building. So
That's so often the case. When you get to the end of yourself, it's actually the beginning of something transformative and new and exciting. And so you've taken your knowledge of a certain field and industry and need, where you can produce value, where other people probably wouldn't have understood it well enough to see the great need, and where there's a great need, there's a great lot of value that can be produced, and value is what creates income. So well
mhm.
done on taking that step into the unknown, so to speak. Probably even that was a bit scary at times.
Oh yeah, and that wasn't the only pivot. Like I've built so many things that should not have been built. I think when Oculi first started out, it was a laser scanning company. I was traveling doing lots of reality capture. I did that for a number of years, and I thought, the way that the technology was going, it's probably just going to be on your cell phone. So I said, why not let's build something with our cell phone that can scan. That time I was really into fitness. So I was like, why don't we do a body scanner with your cell phone and be able to track fitness levels? And I quickly realized that you could just do this with your hand. You didn't need hardware to do this. And
Okay.
and then pivoted and COVID hit. And I wanted to find ways to get people back into mall experiences without having to actually be there. So we researched, how to anchor 3D experiences into retail and get people walking around. Like, again, we did all kinds of experimentation, but we built things that didn't solve a problem because the problem
Yeah.
wasn't big enough. So
Yeah. Yeah. You really need to identify. That's one of the core things. I've got a buddy who always talks about you've got to solve one problem for one person. So one ideal type of client and one product. So the idea of having one, James Tuckerman is my friend. One problem, one person, one product. If you've got that in your mind, you've got the potential to create success if you can find that, that happy solution.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, even for us, we get a lot of feedback from people saying, "You're crazy. You're chewing down an elephant with very small teeth." And we said, "Yeah, but if you look at it, we're solving one problem. It's non-compliance,
Yeah.
and non-compliance is attached to codes, costs, schedules, you name it. But it's one problem. So
Yeah. One problem for one very particular type of industry. And then that's powerful. Well done on what you're doing. Is it suitable for globally? Or how would you say?
Around the world. So we started launching in Canada and the US, and we're building out newer targeted applications for the GDPR. We would love to get into Australia and stuff. If there's companies that are looking to take advantage of a connected data environment instead of a common data environment and really want to take advantage of it, by all means. So
Yeah, sure. So well, before we kind of wrap up and you can give a bit of a plug of how people can connect, what should have I asked you that I didn't, and what would be the answer to that question?
Oh, geez. Do you have spare time? I would say, and I would say that's definitely a big one. I cannot sit still. I have to fill in my time with something, and that time is with kids. I coach 2 hockey teams when I'm outside of work, and both hockey teams are my kids, and there's nothing more important in my life than to see the next generation of entrepreneurs, of great minds, building the core values they need to make those decisions in the future. And there's so many ways to do that, but a sports team's the best way to do it.
Yeah. I love it. I was coaching my sons and their teams in basketball. That was so exciting. I think I was more invested in the basketball teams than any other parents I would have been, certainly. But it was such a great time with the boys when they were younger doing that stuff. Something that really is obvious to me talking to you today, Dennis, is your vulnerability and your openness to share failures. I think there's real value in that humanity, that likability, because we all know people make mistakes and we're all learning and we're growing and we're doing the best. But I really appreciate the way you've shared today so openly about the lessons learned the hard way as well, and what you're providing. And I know the solution you've got is a fantastic opportunity. How do people get involved, sign up? What should they do next?
Yeah, Cody.com, or they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I have tons of connections on LinkedIn that still reach out to me from 15 years ago that ask me for advice in software. I use it for everything communication wise. So by all means, just tag me out, reach out. Cody.com has some information on the product, but I'm not here to sell you product as much as that's awesome. I'm here to build a relationship and have, great communication with people in architecture, engineering, construction. And I want you to be able to leave home with a legacy and to be the best possible person that you can be on the field. So.
Fantastic, Dennis. I'll put all the links, your LinkedIn and the website for the company in the show notes so anyone can find that really simply. Thanks so much for your time on the call today.
Thanks for having me on, Wes. This is a blast.
Excellent. Cheers. Bye.
Awesome. Cheers.